Hello everybody, this is the Crew Dude. Years ago, I made a promise that I would talk about the open season franchise. I have personally dreaded walking back into the woods, but I honestly think I should suffer through it so that others don't have to. The first open season film was released in 2006 by Sony Pictures Animation. This would be the first animated film by the studio, and they would later go on to make one of the greatest films ever made, some of the worst things ever put to the big screen, as well as a ton of middle ground. For a debut film, Open Season received mixed audience and critical reception due to the animation quality, story, and uninspired jokes, with its only real saving grace being the voice work by big-name actors such as Martin Lawrence, Ashton Kutcher, and Gary Sinise. I thought the movie was fine on its own, but it really left no room for further character development, which is why I rolled my eyes at the fact that a direct-to-DVD sequel had been made. Yes, this wouldn't be the only one, but more on that later. Is there new territory to explore, or should it have been left buried in the backyard? Okay, we all know the answer to that, but indulge me for about 20 or so minutes and I'll explain. The film opens with a set of static images that look strangely better than anything that follows, and then we see Elliot, who boasts about his new rack, which I'm sure is intended to be an innuendo. He thanks Boog and the others for their support as they make their way to Elliot's wedding just as he starts to have second thoughts.
I'd just like to thank you, Boog, Mr. Weenie, Buddy, Serge, Denny, and McSquizzy, my closest, dearest friends, for being here for me on the most important day of my life. Whoa! Oh!
Yeah, you're welcome. Now let's
Unfortunately, the bachelor buck stops here. But I begin a new chapter with Giselle, my doe, my deer, my female deer.
That's a really nice thought,
As my
Elliot.
single life ends, finishes, expires, perishes, goes down in a blazing ball of flames with no survivor!
Elliot!
It's worth mentioning that only a few voice actors returned for this movie. Boog and Elliot are now voiced by Mike Epps and Joe McHale respectively because I guess Sony couldn't afford Martin Lawrence or Ashton Kutcher, or maybe they just didn't want to do it again. Either one is understandable. So Elliot ends up breaking his busty rack and falls into a panic.
Now this is sad.
Poor Elliot.
We need a diversion.
Hey, I know just a diversion to take his mind off his antler. We break his hoof with a large stone.
Yeah, a large stone.
No, just break his jaw instead! So Boog decides to distract Elliot from his antlers by throwing rabbits at him, and this is just enough to cheer him up. Come on, don't the rabbits have rights or feelings?
You're going down, fat bear.
Stay! Sit.
Yeah.
Now count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What are you doing?
Six,
He's getting
seven.
away!
I can't believe I fell for that. I must never be weak again. I don't know what it was like living with the humans. They will steal our freedom and lock us up forever and ever.
Forever and ever?
Yeah. Never forget who you are. In here.
A vulnerable child who just wants to be loved?
No. A wild animal who relies on no one but himself. Now say it with me. I'm wild.
I'm wild.
With conviction. I'm wild. I'm wild. Ah!
I was gonna tear into this scene like a wild animal, but it actually does a good job at establishing both of these characters for the rest of the film as they show genuine fear of confinement. The problem is that they are comparing a domestic house life to a marital bond, which just comes across as poorly thought out. Both of them treat love like it's some antagonistic force, but even by the end, the characters never make an attempt to see it in a positive light. It's not like Elliot is really losing anything after being married, since he'd still have his friends, and he's never chased after Whitetail before. See what I did there?
I am victorious.
Show off. Now I'm gonna have to check the rule book on that one.
Was ist das?
Seriously? How does this make sense in context? For every scene that tries to set up the story, something always ruins my investment. So the gang heads off to the wedding while Ian, the large buck from the last movie, serves as the minister for the ceremony. Kind of awkward when your ex-boyfriend conducts the service for your wedding, but whatever. He's also not voiced by Patrick Warburton, but by someone doing a terrible impression of him. So Elliot suddenly freezes up during the wedding vows after hearing forever and ever, as he doubts his own ability to hold a commitment. At least that's what I think. In reality, he just gets upset over an additional "and ever" tacked onto the vow as if that's somehow any longer than just forever. Meanwhile, Mr. Weenie abandons the wedding and picks up the scent of a dog treat left behind by his former owners. He gives in to the temptation and follows the trail where he is eventually found by his thick-ass caregiver and taken away. Elliot just so happens to see this and runs off, leaving Giselle at the altar. You can really see the panic on both of them through this awkward urine-colored filter.
It was horrible! Weenie was minding his own business when she appeared. He screamed, but she ignored his cry. And then she grabbed him, and she tried to squeeze the life out of him. Oh, she tortured him, slapped him, poked his eyes out like this.
It was horrible! It was the worst thing I've ever seen!
So Elliot emphasizes that he needs to rescue the dog, but he uses it more as an excuse to postpone the wedding so he doesn't have to face anything. Wow, what a selfish douchebag. So Boog agrees to join Elliot in finding Mr. Weenie, along with Giselle, McSquizzy the Scottish Squirrel, the Ducks, and the Porcupine. Meanwhile, Mr. Weenie's owners stop at a nearby gas station while they call in the rest of their friends. Here we meet more awful characters, such as this basset hound named Roberto, voiced by Steve Sharippa, and a toy poodle named Fifi, voiced by Crispin Glover. So this is the villain of the film, and he is unbearably annoying. I'll be fair and say that Crispin's voice work is really good, and he does give it his all, but I think his talents would have been better off in a different role. So the caravan makes a stop, and we meet a few additional side characters, and I will admit that not all of them are terrible. We are introduced to a cat named Stanley, voiced by Fred Stoller, as he reluctantly reunites with a brain-damaged cat named Roger.
Finally, it's been ages. Actually, it's been exactly 1 year, Roger. Really? It seems like such a long time. Oh, I have to explain this again. Okay, listen. We go to Pet Paradiso every year at the same time, and, painfully, we have the same conversation. We do? Yes, we do. Is this ringing a bell? Finally, it's been ages.
Seriously, he's actually the only good character in the movie. Probably because he annoys everyone else more than he annoys me, but he is just so stupid, it's hard not to like him. Oh yeah, we also have these two dogs that talk with southern draws, but they're not important at all.
I was once in the vicious clutches of wild animals.
You were?
I was.
What was it like?
It's too painful for me to talk about. Gather round.
Okay, Fifi, you want the squeaky toy?
There I was, all alone.
You want it?
Alone in that steaming jungle, that unforgivable heart of darkness where you can't see your own paws, and the only sound is the frantic but adorable pitter-patter of your own heart. When suddenly... they were everywhere. There was no escape. My life flashed before my eyes, and then the unspeakable.
What happened? Did you live?
I get that it's played for laughs, but it doesn't make sense in context. He wasn't in any real danger, and apparently he's just so much of a pansy that he can't stand the sight of a few birds and bugs? You're telling me that he's so much of a sheltered house pet that he has never been in his own backyard? In fact, he's outside for most of the movie, surrounded by the caravan, sure, but I'm surprised that his tiny heart didn't explode the moment he stepped on an exposed root.
I lost two things on that day. My innocence and my squeaky toy.
And his owner didn't bother to retrieve his toy? I'm starting to think Fifi might have experienced deeper trauma than the tomato garden. So he then spots a rabbit that he decides to teach a lesson. Yeah, guess what? This isn't gonna go anywhere.
One day, you vile little beast, one day I will personally teach you a lesson you will never forget! I'm coming, Mother.
Meanwhile, Elliot and company venture aimlessly while Giselle takes him aside and asks for an explanation.
I've been thinking a lot about what happened at the ceremony this morning.
What do you mean?
Well, while I was saying I do, you were looking like you didn't.
What? Giselle, don't be ridiculous.
Look, Elliot, I know something is bothering you. Ever since the ceremony, you've been acting a little strange. We're partners. You can tell me anything.
All right, Giselle, but remember, you asked. Basically, I'm worried about forever and ever.
Forever and ever.
About Mr. Weenie being lost forever and ever.
So, this has nothing to do with me. You're only worried about Mr. Weenie, right?
Yes, I am.
And he can't even bring himself to have an honest conversation with his fiancée? Why do these two want to be married again?
She found him! Oh, where'd you go, Giselle?
What luck, huh, Elliot? We'll be back home and married in no time.
Well, I mean, that could be another RV,
There's
you know.
Mr. Weenie in the window!
Hey, he's waving at us.
Hi, Weenie.
That's a totally different dog.
Nope, that's
Well, you
it.
better keep looking.
Whoa. Come back.
The team breaks into the van where Mr. Weenie is chained inside and try to lube him up by pouring random liquids on his collar. The owners return, forcing them to flee, and despite just freeing him, Elliot slams the door in front of him, thus making his whole plan completely pointless, and gets the porcupine stuck in the process. Honestly, I'm willing to bet that Elliot did that on purpose so he wouldn't have to return to the wedding. By the way, check out the gas prices in this universe.
That'll be $437.
Incoming!
That clearly wasn't the same amount on the meter. Clearly a Biden supporter.
Oh, yeah. You call aerial surveillance a good idea? All right, General Giselle.
What's with you?
We're not even married yet, and you're already telling me what to do.
You need a little space? All right, yeah.
I'm just trying to save
problem.
Mr. Weenie.
And there lies the problem. There's only room for one cook in this kitchen, and that one cook is me and Boog. We're partners.
After acting like an impulsive jackass, the team decides to follow Giselle's tracking instincts while Elliot abandons everyone to travel alone. I don't know why they would follow either, since they could just follow the road. As Mr. Weenie arrives at the campsite, he reunites with the other dogs, where Fifi attempts to rehabilitate him with what he calls the tent. What does that mean? You can't neuter him twice.
Is it done yet? Did he do it? Is it over? Is it done? Did we do this? Is it over? Are we finished?
Yeah, he's pretty much like this throughout the entire movie.
Rufus, get the instruments.
Here you are. Oh no.
Roberto, hand me the stick.
Oh boy.
I don't get what the tent was for, but this scene just drags pointlessly without any real purpose. So the porcupine enters the tent and rescues Weenie before removing a shock collar, causing Fifi to get fried when he tries to leave the perimeter. All he gets from this is a bald spot. Come on, why not burn all his fur off or something? It would be a lot funnier if he was in more misery. Actually, it would be a lot better if he died altogether. As Boog and the others look for a place to sleep, they come across a campfire and Boog attempts to give a life lesson using s'mores.
Check this out. This is a little something Beth taught me. Ha ha!
Really? Beth taught him to do that? I'd pay to see that movie.
All right, take this marshmallow for example. It's great all by itself. It's soft, fluffy, and sweet, like you, Giselle. Now check out this chocolate bar. It's awesome too. It's full of caffeine and sugar, and it make you spaz out, like Elliot. And even though on their own, both are great, neither are perfect, in my opinion. But they are perfect together.
Funny how I just saw Hotel Transylvania 4 and they gave a much better comparison using marshmallows. Like, I would compare the Union with a s'more. More like tacos and marmalade, and yes, that was a very forced joke.
This is a good character building moment.
No, I'll be the judge of that.
And I definitely don't need a girlfriend. So what if she tucks me in at night? Or listens to my problems? Makes really good pine cone crunchies or rubs my head when I have sickies? Criminy, what have I done?
Now it's obvious that he doesn't truly want a wife, but more of a mommy figure. It's blatantly clear, but it's a shame that the connection is never made by Elliot, or anyone else for that matter. Boog then finds the campsite shortly after everyone left, and they follow the road towards a large pet resort that is honestly very impractical. I mean, it has a pool, a buffet, and a water slide, so it's odd that people would staff this normally when it would look more in place at Universal Studios. So the animals sneak their way through the RVs and encounter something truly abhorrent.
What's wrong?
Oh, good.
Come on, spit it out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so Just like okay, I see a woman and her dog.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Look again.
Boog then gets the idea to disguise Giselle, McSquizzy, and himself as dogs to get inside the resort, while Elliot and Mr. Weenie reunite and try to get inside to find Giselle, who is already searching for him inside. Already this is a bit cluttered and unfocused.
Who are you?
What do you mean? I'm your best friend.
McSquizzy?
McSquizzy? He doesn't even like you.
Look, I'm not talking to some random overweight sheepdog about my personal relationships.
It's me, Boog.
Boog's fatter. No way.
Elliot.
Wow, it is you. Did you lose weight?
When did you start thinking McSquizzy was your BFF?
Oh, haha. Well, you were hibernating, and we were hanging. Turns out, we have a lot in common. We both like nuts.
See? I knew it! So Giselle and McSquizzy explore the area while being accosted by this gay Doberman who wants to bang the squirrel.
Hello, baby.
Beat it, Doberman, Pinhead. She's taken.
Good looks and funny, too. But I was not talking to the Dalmatian. Little Miss Sugar Snack. Ah.
Idiot! I'm not a girl!
Hurry along, let's not be rude.
Hey, chica. Mommy, you take care of that body for Rico, huh?
As they search for Mr. Weenie, they quickly get captured by Fifi and company and tied up in a storage area which is oddly inside the water slide and even intersects with it. They didn't even tie Giselle's legs, they just roped McSquizzy to her back, so why can't she escape? I mean, this demands an explanation. So Elliot sneaks into the resort with Boog, the porcupine, and Mr. Weenie in disguise, and of course they do a fake out where you think the plan won't work, but then they immediately ruin it with this stupid joke.
Hey! Just a minute!
The plan's not gonna work! The plan's not gonna work!
Rico, hold it together.
Do you think you can just waltz right in here? Without your room key, Mrs. Slapiano? You must drop this. Oh! Voice like an angel.
I wonder where I left my room key.
Wait a second! Nice try! You're not fooling anyone with that phony disguise! What are you wearing? A porcupine on your head? Get out of here, you vagrant!
Elliot then finds Giselle, and this leads to what I will admit is actually a funny moment.
I already have. Oh, but you already have it.
What are you doing?
It's Mrs. Slapiano. It's me, Elliot, and I'm here to rescue my lady, kick butt, and take names. What's your name? Wow. Did anybody see that coming?
Yes.
Even Roger saw that coming. I did.
Fifi attaches shock collars to them to torture them into submission, but unfortunately, Boog arrives just in time to rescue them. As Fifi catches up to them, he attacks Elliot in the pool and activates the remote control, but not before Elliot puts the shock collars on him somehow, which in turn shocks himself. Mr. Weenie's owners are notified of his presence, and they rush off from the gas station, causing a fire in the process. You can tell the explosion is a simple effect, as it's the best looking animation in this film, but even then it looks cropped. So the team says goodbye to each other, as the Doberman finally takes the hint.
So, your doghouse or mine, chica?
Hey, Rico, come here. Let me share a wee secret with you. I'm not a girl!
What? Senor, you have played with Rico's emotions. Adios.
Unacceptable, for Rico shall still remain in the closet. Despite spending all this time trying to rescue him, Mr. Weenie decides to stay with the other pets and tells Elliot that he will never feel fulfilled unless he spends time with those who love him.
You must have limits to be limitless.
Was?
All that matters is to be with the one you love, and the one that loves you.
You're not making any sense, Weenie. I'm just gonna spend the rest of my life with the one who loves me. Giselle.
Don't go.
Okay, that's fair, but the way it's delivered doesn't translate well to the audience. Okay, so he reunites with his owners while it's clear that Elliot still did not retain the lesson that he was supposed to learn.
Don't lose him again now. That dog loves you.
Never!
Oh no, the woman beast is torturing him again!
What? Is that what you call torture?
Yeah. Why do you ask?
Why? Man, she's showing him affection.
Oh! I might have misread that.
So Elliot attempts to confess his feelings to Giselle, but even then he can't get the words out.
Okay, you, me,
together.
Hello, hi. You were saying?
It's me and you forever.
Go on.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, why do these birds and ducks suddenly appear every time you're near?
Bro, this is the first time this has happened. Grow a pair.
They long to be close to you.
Good lord, just kill me. So he ends the movie by breaking out into a horrendous song, and Elliot finally marries Giselle. So I guess Fifi does lose all his fur after all. And finally, it's over. Good lord, this was a hard film to sit through. The animation is truly awful. I mean, the original wasn't great either, but at least it had decent lighting and particle effects. This just looks somehow worse with very flat and bland landscapes. I know it's a forest, but it looks so uninteresting and barren. The characters suck too. Elliot is an annoying, unlikable jerk who doesn't change by the end of the film. I mean, he finally admits his love for Giselle, but nothing about their romance seems healthy since Elliot is too emotionally stunted to handle the idea of an adult relationship. The other characters are too one-dimensional to be interesting. Boog is reduced to a side character, McSquizzy is okay but doesn't contribute much, the other characters are pointless and have little involvement. Fifi, less said the better, but Roger is the only likable element in this prolonged slog of a film. The odd thing is that Mr. Weenie is pretty much the main character now. He's the one who goes through a character arc, and is torn between being a domestic house pet and a free wild animal. What made the first movie interesting was how Boog gave up a domestic life to stay with Elliot and the others now that he has something worth protecting. We get none of that here, and just suffer through Elliot being a selfish man-child who is afraid of commitment. In all honesty, this film was a waste of talent and animation. What's sad is, I'm not out of the woods yet, so I'll be talking about Open Season 3 very soon. This is the M Crew Dude signing off, wishing you all a very pleasant day.